Good evening and welcome to round 4 of our USAC 1978 championship, coming to you tonight from what is affectionately known as the Kidney Bean, the Trenton International Speedway, for the Gabriel 200, which promises to be a hectic and very interesting race for everyone involved, where many drivers has had, shall we say, niggly little issues with keeping their cars on track, as far as I've seen when I've been around. With it being called the Kidney Bean, let's have a quick look at what our drivers will be facing here tonight, with about 6 minutes left until the race is about to start. We are, as I said, at the Trenton International Speedway. It's a 1.5 mile Kidney Bean oval, so named because of the right-hand kink on the back straight, which they put in when they decided to extend the track in the 60s, and obviously with a bit of housing and other bits and bobs in the way, they solved it in that kind of way. Our drivers will be trying to complete 134 laps here tonight, which will equal 201 miles. And with it being 201 miles, let's have a quick look at the fuel restrictions for this particular race. The drivers will be allotted 3 full tanks, that includes the tank they are starting on, which will be approximately 453 liters or 120 gallons. And as always, if a driver is found to have been violating this limit, he or her will be disqualified post-race. The championship situation and the points that will be awarded here tonight goes as follows, with the winner scoring 400 points, second 320, then it drops by 40 down to when we get to 7th place. 8th will score 100 points, 9th 80, 10th 60, 11th 40, 12th 20, 13th to 16th will score 10, with 17th to 20th 8, 21st to 24th 6, and 25th to 28th 4th, which I think will be the least amount of points awarded during this particular race. As I am joined here in the broadcast booth by Richard Wilks. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening, Jonatan. How are you? Good evening, everybody.
I'm doing quite well. A little bit on the stressed side, running a little bit late for this one, but thank you very much for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I'm looking forward to this. This might be a very interesting race.
It's certainly looking like it is going to be, especially with that right-hand kink on the track. That's usually a recipe for disaster, as we've seen in previous races at this particular venue.
Yeah, that's true. It's not an easy thing to tell these cars that only want to turn left to at some point turn right, and some people have some trouble with that corner in particular. Although I do wonder with the cars how they run now, with all the changes we did, they might be a bit easier to navigate through there, but I know these people, they now have to run very loose cars, or at least try to run them very neutral to not overheat the front tire especially. So it will be interesting to see who gets it dialed out for the race.
Indeed, and I believe I've got the right one. If I'll just have a quick double check to make sure I haven't missed. I did pick it the wrong one. Give me just 1 second. Those are the wrong keys to the race. Here they are. So as you mentioned, watch the right side temperatures on the tires. Jason's keys to the race. And as we've alluded, respect that dog leg, the right hand kink. You can't expect it to respect you back. And last bit of always be extra careful on pit exit. I'd assume because it's a very tight pit exit and access road.
Yeah, you have to turn sharply to get in and turn even more sharply as soon as you get out. So it's very easy to overshoot it a bit, and that can have nasty consequences. Don't pay attention.
Very much so, and Watmanoff in turn 4. We're just riding aboard with Raoul Jereb as he exits, I believe that was turn 4. So cross the start finish. Very tight, and it even feels like it tightens through 2 leg, and then into 3 and 4. We can really work in that way. Let's see.
Cameras moving around the clock ran, so we should be going to the race.
And that should hopefully be me sorted. Good thing I caught that I had made a slight hiccup.
Yes, the drivers are now waiting a bit, which I don't think they would mind too much. Since we, at the moment on the server, we seem to have lost Cesario, so we have to wait anyways for him to get back onto the race session.
Well, luck in the bad luck, I suppose one could say.
Indeed, because if I think it wasn't the last race or the race before that someone dropped out right as we passed onto the race session, and I think it was Martin Lassina, yes, and poor Martin couldn't take part on the race. So I guess this time Cesarius was a bit more lucky because he's back on the server.
Let's see. Looks like I am good. If you want to let them know, please, Richard. Yep,
Yes,
looking all good, so...
Just gave the heads up to the admins, so I guess we will be going to the race session now.
And since we are just awaiting that for the moment, do you have any calls on who could be our winner here tonight?
Very hard to predict this one, but I think the Penske boys are due 1, so if I can predict the winner, at least I would like to see them do well.
Well, as you say that, it certainly looks like the Penske boys is up there, because Hackman has taken pole position here tonight. That is very impressive. Second on the grid is Mikey Gremsen for Timon Gelhausen. That's a fantastic effort in that Eagle, I think that is.
Yes, it's an Eagle, and well, they've been extraordinary in qualifying conditions. So it's a surprise, but not so much a surprise. But that's the good thing about the racing here in ISO. It's that it's a very different proposition to race, and we will see how they fare.
And Jason White lines up third, just to go through the grid, with David Yates in fourth for Pat Patrick. Cesare Shlapinski qualifies fifth, with Brian Yannick in sixth. Alberto Ibanez for All American Races in seventh, with Joha Bors in eighth. Luciano Rocha up in ninth. That's also a very impressive time by him and the Eagle. Jules Bouchard 10th, with Alberto Quino 11th. David Saber 12th. Martin Lassina 13th, with Jason Whited in 14th. Peter Glavac in 15th, with August Watering in 16th. Raoul Jereb 17th, with Jason Fetch in 18th. Ray Riddle 19th with Bruno Chacon in 20th, Alan Santo 21st with Bruno Pagiola 22nd, Aniel May in the Volstead lines up 23rd with Simon Wattman in 24th, and I believe final car on the grid would be Mike Olsen in 25th. As we are now seeing the field coming around turn 4, and shortly the safety car, that beautiful Corvette Stingray, will head into the pit lane, and green flag is out and away we go, and it looks like Adam Hackman hold on to the lead early on in this race.
Seems a clean start from everybody.
Ooh, Mikey Graham still looking up the outside through the kink. Oh, that's scary. Looks like he should have the overlap though, and oh dear me, Adam Hackman lost a lot of positions there. So Mikey Grams takes the lead, with David Yates up into second.
Well, Grams for sure not letting any time by before attacking, and there he went.
Oh, Juha Bos has had a good start as well, up into third at the moment and challenging David Yates for second.
He is, well, Juha, he's been due a good result too. I guess he wants to prove that today.
Very much so, as we jump on board with the Mike Grams, looking back at both Yates, Bos and Schlapinski. With Hackman, it looks like down in fifth.
Indeed, Graham's still leading. Jakes is now back to second, and the two of them want to get a clean break. They did a lot of practice for this one, so let's see what they can do.
Certainly be very interesting to see. And we can see that the elevation change as they come off the banking out of turn 4. That it's quite substantial. It's nice to see that everyone has been able to keep on going during these opening laps.
So far so good, and a shout out for Luciano Rocha, which is in 12th now. He usually is not so up, at least in the races we've seen from him, so he's doing a very good job here today.
Well, for sure, he's usually I think he's gotten one really good finish through attrition, but this is definitely the fastest I've seen him, or the highest up I've seen him early on in the race and so far this season. And it looks like with Saber being passed, Rocha might very well have an opportunity to go for a position very soon as well.
And now Juha was getting under attack from Cesarios, with Adam Hackman lurking just behind him.
Let's jump on board with Hackman and have a look at what he's seeing up ahead of him. Ooh, and we can see how tricky that right-hand dogleg kink is. Both Schlapinski and Hackman got way out of shape for going through that.
Yeah, Slapinski's car is out of shape coming out of almost anything. I'll be very surprised if he can continue like that.
Well, generally from what I've seen and what I've experienced myself, it's a case of you can drive like that for a few laps, but then you usually get quite tired. As someone has set an off through the dogleg on the previous lap, we could see the remains of tire marks and stuff on the road. Looks like Slavac has possibly retired.
He's on the pits for repairs now, without the front of the car, so I guess it was him.
That's unfortunate, and it looks like Fitch may possibly have either been involved or had to take avoiding action, because he's way at the back of the field now. I noticed he was up in the mid-teens somewhere, like 17th, 18th, just a few laps ago. That's very unfortunate, but nicely done, getting out of the way of the leaders.
Meanwhile, Mikey Grimes is enjoying a small advantage over Jakes, who is enjoying a big advantage over Juha at this point.
On a big battle pack back here as well. Looks like Rocha has held on to his 12th at the moment, but right ahead of him is Jules Bourgaard, and looks like Rocha wants to have a go.
And unfortunately, Petrolavac is a retirement, our first of the day.
That's very unfortunate. As we jump on board with Bourgaard, and Rocha looking for a good exit out of 4. And then Whited in behind him, and Ray Riddle not far behind either. We can see there Rocha's trouble down the straight. He has quite a bit of drag, it looks like, on that car.
Seems so. Maybe he wanted to play safe and went up on the wings to make sure that his car stays planted on the track. But he's being eaten alive by everybody now.
It's a case of it. I think he tried to go around outside in turn 1, and that clearly didn't work out in the marbles and stuff. But this is definitely what looks like one of the bigger battle packs on the track at the moment.
It's that and the fight for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, which it's still raging on, although nobody seems to be able to make a move on anybody, at least until now.
And I notice unfortunately Raoul Yareb is a retiree as well. I'm just trying to have a quick look, but I can't go back far enough to see it.
Well, that is a shame also. But yes, his car is sitting in the pits without the rear, so I suppose that was pretty terminal.
Very much so, as you have alluded to, the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th is still on. As now Brian Yannick makes a move up to 4th. Nicely done, sneaked up the inside of Shlapinski, who was a little bit loose in 3 and 4, and that's all she wrote. So Yannick definitely feeling confident here as he goes up the inside of Jarbo's on the exit, too wide through the dog leg. And both of them able to survive it. Nicely done by the both of them, showing respect to each other. But Yannick's car really looks strong off the corners. And again with a good exit out of 1. This time trying to hang back and getting a better run through the dog leg though. Ooh, and Bo's running a little bit high.
Brian attacking on the inside indeed. Well, they're gonna go side by side on the straight. But then the Causer engine from Juha getting the advantage there. But Brian is being held up, I suppose, at this point.
It certainly looks like that if he were able to run on his own, he'd probably run a little bit quicker still, as August Watering is also out of the race, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame. August was looking forward to this one, and I think he had a pretty good chance of doing well.
Looks like he may very well have blown an engine. Yep, that's a blown engine coming through the dog leg. A whole heap of fire coming out the back, unfortunately, there.
If you let the rev spike or pass over 9,000, especially with the Offenhauser-derived engines, then you can be pretty sure that it's going to be terminal. You cannot do that.
When Yannick has gotten past, let's see if we can catch where that happened. It was again at turn 4. Clearly favourite overtaking opportunity for him. Was able to sneak up way better that time. Got ahead on the exit and then was able to hold on down the straight. If only just. Ooh, that's a bit of an aggressive defense down the front straight, but was able to hold on to it and open up a gap immediately.
So it seems. So Juha was definitely holding him up. I wouldn't be surprised that maybe the guys in front didn't start with the full tank, because their speed is really astonishing at the moment.
Well, that's certainly a strategical possibility, seeing as you would be able to gain both in terms of tire wear and overall speed if you do that. I suppose the danger would be if there's a safety car. You may be out of position by then.
Well, it's a gamble, like any other in oval racing, but so far, Mikey Grams has a almost 5-second lead over David Jakes and a 15-second lead over Brian Janik, and that's massive in a track like this.
And that's certainly very, very impressive indeed. As that battle pack for 12th on down is still going strong.
Look at that. That midfield is really always on fire. People everywhere, very close to each other.
Very much so. And then you also have the little bit of extra work where lapping cars are very common around this short track.
Yes, Grams is already lapping people. I think his next target must be Luciano Rocha, which he is getting close to now.
Oh, they are right in the middle of that battle pack then, from 10th on down to what would be Rocha in 15th.
Yes, the big group is right in front of Rocha. It's yes, it's everybody fighting for position there.
Well, that'll be an interesting proposition for Grams for sure. How will he be able to go through those 6 cars that is fighting for position all over the place?
Yes, for example, Ray Ridal and Jules Bouchard went around turn 1 side by side, basically.
Still going at it. Jules Bouchard on board with him a little bit wide. Sabre has been able to pull away, so we're on board with Ray Ridal, who sneaks up the inside thanks to that little bit of extra horsepower and possibly a slightly better exit. That's interesting. Ridal is actually changing gears in the kink, which sounds like a bit of a dangerous proposition.
Well, I don't know if you get an advantage out of that. I see that the leaders, they all decided to just keep it in 4th all the time. So, but maybe for Ray, it's a more comfortable thing to do.
Could very well be. Mikey Grams has been able to navigate 2 of the 6 cars so far. And Ray Ridal was able to sneak past David Sabre down the front straight and into turn 1. Now Sabre wide again, so Equino could very well sneak up the inside on the exit and take away 11th. Looks like he's been able to do so.
And while all this action is happening, we're already with 25 laps on the record books, and I wonder when they will start thinking about stopping for fuel. I know that a stint here can be 40-something laps, if you are, I think, with a full tank. We are halfway there, and I'm very curious to see if anybody of the front runners starts before that.
It'll certainly be interesting to see. And one of those where which strategy turns out to be the best choice.
Well, it is hard to tell. It will depend how the race pans out. If the race is gone green all the time, then theoretically, the less stops you do, the better. But with this space advantage, I'm not even sure.
No, for sure. And there's also the case of when you stop in the pits, how will that turn out in terms of the stationary time?
Yes, exactly, and it's always a risk. We've seen people blow engines when they come out of the pits, revving up, changing gears, missing gears, for example, and there's also the question of the tires.
Oh,
The tires can go down. Ooh.
There's an off there. I couldn't quite catch that. Was looks like that's a car a couple of laps down, but it looks, I think that was Pagiola, I think, who was. Yeah, Pagiola lost it on the exit, and just about avoiding him was car 88.
Pagiola is now in the pits. Maybe he sustained damage from it.
Well, he's clearly struggling with something. The car crabbing a little bit as he headed for the pit lane. Car 88 would have been. Was that a Grand King? That's 98. Let's see if we can locate the other car that almost got collected. It could have very well have been the 98. Probably was. So that was Simon Wattman, I think, who just about was able to avoid collecting Pagiola's spinning car there. Very good avoidance by Simon, I have to say. That could have been a humongous accident if that would have taken place.
Yeah, so far only the isolated incidents from people crashing by themselves. We didn't have any big ones yet, like they say in NASCAR, right? Fortunately, because unlike NASCAR, we don't like to see them here in open wheel racing.
No, indeed, because there's far less crash structure to protect you if anything goes wrong. So it's very much like what I would say back in the, well, sort of back in the day, that you could almost punch the side of the car or the side of the cockpit, and you would almost be able to punch straight through.
Meanwhile, Cesario is up to 4th, passing Juha, and Mikey Grams put another fastest lap of the race. The man is on fire tonight.
Definitely looks like this kidney bean looking track is suiting Mikey down to a T. Yes, he does another quickest lap, 33.0 now. That is absolutely storming pace.
Well, that's question number answered. They do have the race pace. They seem to be able to keep the tire temperatures under control. So they do have the pace, but let's see about their strategy.
It'll certainly be interesting to see. Main thing I think now is how is the tires holding up at this kind of immense pace.
Well, I would guess that if they were able to keep the pace for the last 33 laps, that tire wear is not going to be so much of an issue for them, at least no more than anybody else. Because the biggest point is that if you overheat either the front or the rear tire, then that tire will lose grip very quickly and it will wear more. But that would be already apparent at this stage, because they wouldn't be able to keep a quick pace for more than, say, 5-10 laps maximum. But Mike is already with 34 laps under his belt and no problem. So it indicates to me that he has a very good race setup. And for now, he seems to me the favorite to win this one.
Certainly so. Martin Lassina has, in the meantime, also gotten past Alberto Ibanez, possibly through a bit of use of traffic. And Jason White ain't far behind either, so both Penske's in the top 10. Technically all three with the Privateer car in the hands of Juha Boos. And Equino is still trying to get to grips with another car. This time it's Ray Riddle who he's fighting for a top 10 placing.
And he goes through.
And it looks like he should have the pace to at least helpfully pull away there. And the battle group here, though smaller and for the slightly further back in the field positions, it's still going on between Bouchard, who's just about, I think, able to hold on, and Roja, Saber and Whited.
Meanwhile, Bruno Paggiola retired from the race, unfortunately.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I suppose the suspension was quite harshly damaged, considering how the car was moving around.
Well, that's definitely a possibility, and you can't have a crooked car here, because of the configuration of the track makes it even worse, since you have even a right-hand corner. And if the car is crooking to one side, then it's going to be uncontrollable to the other side, probably.
For sure.
So Mikey Graham's already lapped everybody, up to and including Little Al, the winner of the first race of the season. It's showing how competitive this season is also. And although his lead has been shrinking slowly towards David Jakes has been catching him up, maybe due to traffic. Let's see if he can make any inroads, because Brian Janik is solidly already 16 seconds behind Grams. And it's 4 more seconds to Cesarius.
Well, Dave Yakes will surely have to work hard, because Mikey is keeping up his pace, now down into the 32s as he's ending, presumably closing in on the end of his first stint. As will the Oilers, we are up to 40 laps in the books.
Indeed, 40 laps already. And that's the diabolical pace that Graham seems to have.
And on these, at least this clean lap, Mikey was able to pull another 2/10 on David, so I think on pure pace it looks like Grams is quicker at the moment.
So it seems, I guess Jakes was able to catch up due to traffic, but in pure pace Grams seems to have the edge.
So it'll be interesting to watch how traffic will work out for especially these two, since they are 20 odd seconds ahead of the next nearest car, which is Brian Janik, who is, give or take, 18 seconds behind.
Grams is about to lap Jason White and Alberto Ibanez now, which is massive, considering that in the last race Jason was fighting for the win all the time with David Saver, and now he's about to go a lap down.
It certainly swings and roundabouts in this championship, and especially with the different layouts of the different venues that we'll be visiting.
There goes Grams by.
It looked very harmless, very well done from Jason to let him by, and Alberto Ibanez does the same, but ooh, almost contact between Ibanez and White as White tried to sneak up the inside.
That was opportunistic from White.
But thankfully they were able to survive that and live on to fight another day.
Yes, Jakes dropped to 5 seconds, the difference between him and Grams. I mean, increased in this case, because Grams, despite having to overtake Jason White and Alberto, he still managed to pull away.
Indeed, and I notice also Luciano Rocha back up into 12th place for Finley Vatis Enterprises, so really showing some great speed here, along with his fellow Eagle driver Mikey. So I don't know, would it be because the straights are shorter that the aero deficiencies that the Finley, the Eagle cars, older Eagle cars isn't as prominent here because they aren't reaching such high speeds?
Well, this is not a top speed track, so maximum top speed is not so important around here. It's more a question of having a balanced car and a good setup, and the Eagle is a nicely balanced car. It doesn't have the terminal top speed or downforce of some of the best cars, but it's a well balanced car, and it's doing very well here.
And I would suppose having the Offenhauser and derivative engines of the Offenhauser is a bit better as well because of the extra grunt in the lower revs.
And the pit stops are starting. Martin Lecin is in the pits.
Oh, and David Yates into the pits as well, so looks like Mikey has just been into the pits on this previous lap. So 46 laps he completed before his first pit stop.
So it seems Ryan Janik also in the pits. Cesarios continues. So now he's in the lead. But that will be short-lived.
Oh, David Yates with what looked like a bit of a scary exit from the pit lane. Looked like he got loose as he entered. Okay, it was just me.
Very slowly. Something happened with him. I wonder if he went on the grass.
Could very well be. Oh, as we have Ray Ridola up high in turn 1, striking the wall. Just as I cut to him, let's see if we can find out how that happened. Going into turn 1. Oh, looks like he's already wide. Very slowly strikes the wall, hopefully no major damage, but that will have been quite the scare.
No, he continued. So I would guess his car is not too badly damaged, and he's now signaling to pit, so I suppose he's going to pit in the next lap.
Ah, I wonder if he was fiddling with that and slightly lost track of how close he was to turn 1.
Well, sometimes it's easy to happen.
Slapinski's into the pit lane, Yakes up in the 4th, Grams 3rd, and it looks like Yakes has gained just a little bit during the pit stops. Hackman still running, and Juhabo still out there running, so the Penske boys definitely running very long on fuel.
Seems so. The cars are... It's good on fuel by the fact that it's just faster, so you have to lift more basically. And Hackman is indeed still leading, although Grams is not too far behind, and Juha is in the pits.
Yep, as he actually has to get around another parked car. You'll see I'm aboard very quickly here, see if we can catch who that is, if there is a Luciano Rocha that was in the Finley, so...
Brian Janik is out of the rear wing, something happened. He's grabbing all over the apron.
Oh dearie me. Whatever happened there? Let's see if we can catch up to him. Oh, I can't find him. There he is. Let's see if we can catch what happened here. Looks like he's already been off somewhere. Oh, let's see. Looks like turned into 3 and 4, and the car just snapped on him. I wonder if it was slightly unsettled. Ooh, that was close for... Couldn't quite catch. I think that was a Penske just about able to avoid Yannick, who span and ended up right on the racing line towards the middle of the corner.
It's one of those scary moments that you don't want to have. Mike Olson is also out of the race, unfortunately.
Oh no. Let's see if we can possibly catch what happened to him.
And
Looks like it happened a while ago.
Adam Hackman is finally entering the pits now.
Oh dear, it was Mike who ran across... Oh no, he wasn't the one who avoided it, but he got caught up by the off that Brian had and span on the exit of the corner, struck the outside wall, and looks like he picked up quite a bit of damage and decided to retire on the infield.
In the meantime, Adam is back on track. Came back in fourth, but he's being overtaken by Martin Lucina, which seemed to have gained quite a bit with these pit stops. Martin Lucina is now fourth, Adam Hackman fifth. And ooh, just spinning. Alberto Benes is spinning out of 4. He didn't hit the wall. He did a complete 360.
Shades of, was it 80...
85.
85, yeah. Danny Sullivan, I think it was, who span at Indy.
Yeah, he span and he went to win the race. So...
Well, if history repeats itself, Alberto Ibanez will be very happy with that, but that was a great recovery to not spin more than 360 and being able to avoid the wall.
Oh, indeed, and a scary one for sure. So Jakes is 3.5 seconds behind Grams now. And they are both back at the front of the race. I do wonder though if those 10 laps difference between pit stops, if they're gonna amount to some difference at the end of the race.
Possibly. I suppose it depends on how much those who were able to run long can save on their final pit stop. If they decide to go for 2 tires and less fuel or something to try and gain time.
Because it's clear that everybody will have to stop 2 times. And Grams and Jakes decided to split the difference evenly. So they're going to do 3 identical stints. While the Penske cars, they just ran as deep as they could. And they're going to do 2 long stints and possibly a shorter one at the end.
And that, folks, will be when we find out, I think, how this race will end. Because it doesn't look like it'll be decided before then.
No, although, if I have to venture a bet at this point, I think... Ooh, Penske is flying. Penske hit the wall hard on the entrance of 3.
Oh, dearie me. I think that may very well be Hackman, it is. So that's unfortunately one Penske who was in with a shot out of...
Yes.
At least a
Adam
shot for a
Hackman.
win.
He's gonna have to pit for repairs.
Oh, that looked very strange. Let's jump on board with him here. See, he's right behind Martin Lucina, coming through the kink. Oh, okay, so if I read that right, he was in the dirty air of Lucina, and Lucina ran wider than Hackman expected, got into the clean air, and that just immediately put more aerodynamic force on the front wing of the car, and it's unfortunately spanned the car around.
All too easy to happen in oval racing.
Indeed, it looks like the AMC-powered car in the hands of Jason Fitch may have had a 360 as well, coming through 4.
Meanwhile, Brian Janik repaired his car and is still going. He's now in 18th.
That's a very neat little recovery drive so far. There's still time left to get further up the field. Only 8-9 seconds up to Simon Wattman in the Grand King Agashanian entered car.
And meanwhile, with all this action, Luciano Hascher climbed all the way to 10th.
That is a very heartening sight indeed. And very well done to the Brazilian. He's definitely working that Finley very well here. And definitely proves that, dependent on driver, car and track combinations, any kind of combination can have a good race and even a win when the pieces fall in the right way.
That is true on paper. For example, Mikey Graham's car is nowhere near the class of the field or even a very competitive car, but from hard work and skill and reading the race strategy right, he's leading it and comfortably so far.
Oh, that was a bit of a close call while you were saying that. Saber lapping, I think that was the Volstedt of Angel May, and looked like either Saber turned in a little bit early for the kink or Angel May ran a little bit wide and there were almost a little bit of contact. Both were able to hold on as we have our first yellow of the evening. Oh, that's a double crash. It looks like it's towards the rear end of the field.
David Jakes.
David Yakes! Dearie me.
That is a retirement, I believe.
Oh dearie me, whatever happened here?
And Simon Wattman with suspension. If I have to bet, I guess these two collided.
Certainly looks like it. I'll go. Looks like Simon had trouble already. Oh, he's without his rear wing coming out of turn 1. So he must have struck the outside wall back there already. Tried to limp high side back to the pits. And down into 3, and the car just snaps on him. He can't do anything, and unfortunately David Yakes, wrong place, wrong time, and gets collected in the incident.
Well, that's unfortunate. It's a shame when you have to retire for no fault of your own. But this, well, it does hurt Jakes in the championship, although Jacob Fredriksson is not here tonight, so he won't lose points for him. But he might lose points to Cesarius and Jason and a couple of other guys. And meanwhile, this yellow really helps Grams and Cesarius because they are now the only two drivers on the lead lap.
Indeed so, and the one negative thing for both of them, I think, is that neither is in the top 5 of the championship to put themselves in a really good spot to capitalize, but as you mentioned, David Yakes has a 300 points lead, so don't think no matter how the race ends, he will still hold on to his championship lead.
So it seems. I don't remember actually, and this is a bad thing to say since I'm helping you commentating. I don't remember who is in second place in the championship so far.
Second place in the championship is actually Alberto Equino, so doing very well there. Third is Adam Hackman, fourth Fredriksson, and fifth Boss.
Oh, and Cesarius took the chance to pit.
Ah, interesting.
I believe. Or did he?
I'm not entirely
It
sure.
Seems, yeah, I think so. I think he's now in the back of the queue. And I've seen him speeding up to catch the field.
Okay, well, while we wait for the green flag to come out, I'd assume we have at least half a lap here. We'll go quickly have a look at a trivia question for you all to ponder. So, who won the Trenton 200 by 3 full laps on April 25th, 1971? Was it A, Mike Mosley, B, Wally Dallenbach, or C, Bobby Unser? I have to say I got it wrong when I first sort of question, but it's something for you all to think about while the race still is underway.
It's being a long yellow period.
Well, considering the big crash that it was, I'm not surprised that they need to do a little bit of housekeeping and cleaning up.
So it seems a lot of debris to pick as the Corvette leads the field. I do wonder how this is going to shape up, because if Cesario's pitted, he can't go the full distance with a full tank from now, so he's gonna have to pit eventually. And the Corvette is going in or no?
Looks like it is indeed, so let's get back to the action. As we are just waiting for the green flag to come out. And there it is, the green flag is back out and we are underway once again. Oh, and almost 3 wide going into turn 1. That looked very scary indeed. That was Bors trying to get by, I think that's Alberto Ibanez in number 48. And he's trying to get to grips with Martin Lassina, who's up into 3rd with Yake's retirement here. Oh, and Lassina very loose coming out of 4. It looks like all remaining runners is able to complete this opening green flag lap.
So it seems Jason White lost a lot of ground in this restart. He wanted to be very close to Juha, but he isn't.
Well, it's one of those things, I think, if the traffic falls the wrong way, obviously you will lose just a little bit of time, and if you're too optimistic with the lapping, then you lose even more. It honestly looks like Jason is holding back a little bit, running a little bit careful at the moment at least. Seeing as David Sabre and the Wilkes McLaren just flew by.
It seems, and of course Cesario's, he has the whole field to overtake, so he's losing ground to Grams. As everybody spreads out again, we have Luciano Rocha now in 9th, and in front of him is Alberto Ibanez, who recovered after that spin. In front of him is his son, Little Al, 7th, Wherewithal is 6th, Jason White 5th, Juha Bols is in 4th now, Martin Lassina is 3rd, Cesario Sapinski is 2nd, and Mikey Grams still leads the race.
Indeed so, and already by 14 seconds, so definitely making use of the fact that Slapinski had to go through the field to try and get onto equal terms.
Meanwhile, Adam Hackman returned to the race and he's now in 4th team.
See, I think he was partly fortunate with that yellow. I don't think he lost quite as much time as he could have done, and obviously was able to get back on the end of the line. As I assume he came out at the end of that yellow to take up position.
So it seems, which is good, I mean, for him. Maybe he can rack up a few points here still tonight. As we have now 74 laps on the record books, and Mikey Grams is stretching his lead still, and Lassina is the 1st place with a small gap to Juha. And Ray Vidal climbed all the way to 5th with all this action.
Oh, so he's gotten by Jason then, and obviously Little Al as well. And a battle is still going on here between Roja in the Eagle and Alberto Ibanez I'm not sure which chassis he's actually in.
He's in the Lightning.
Lightning indeed, so clearly a superior chassis, possibly engine combination, but makes little difference when Luciano can use the grunt of the engine to help him along, and as we mentioned earlier, a very balanced car helps as well.
True, Luciano he's looking racy behind Alberto.
Certainly so. Looks like both of them are actually catching up and at least keeping up with Juha Bols up ahead in 4th.
That is true, and now Brian joins the fray, trying to climb up the field after his untimely accident. And he's behind those two, and he wants to get by.
Well, I don't think he'll be let by either of them, since they are fighting for position, so Brian will have to be very careful as and when he makes the move.
Ooh, and he definitely had to be careful now. He got a bit too close for comfort there to Luciano's back. And now he's gonna... Ooh, and Luciano's had a moment coming onto the front straight, and Brian is trying to pass. And he's going for it now.
Yeah,
But I don't think Luciano was very happy about that, about losing the ground to Alberto.
Well, I think Luciano had a moment in the dirty air in the King first and had to try and salvage the situation, and then obviously he had a second bobble coming out of 4. As you say, he probably ain't happy with that, but if he's able to hook on to Brian's rear wing there, he could very well have an opportunity when Brian makes the move on Ibanez.
Speaking of the Ibanez family, Little Al is trying to overtake Ray Vidal down the front straight as we speak.
Looks like he's able to pull it off.
He did. He gets stuck, so Little Al is now 5th, which has to be considered very good, since he was very much down the order at the beginning of this race.
Indeed, as we jump on board with Jason White for a moment here, as he's, at least from my view, is trying to hook on to Ray Vidal's rear wing. Looks like he's able to. He's really closing in on the entry to 1. A little bit wide on the exit though. Has to hold up and lose a bit of ground on the exit. We can hear how careful they have to be in the transition between the right, from the left to the right and then back to the left again. A lot of lifting and coasting there.
Meanwhile, Juha is indeed slowing down. He's now behind Alberto, although not on the track, because he's 1 lap ahead, of course, as Janik overtook him. And Juha wants to overtake Brian Janik again, and and now it's 3 wide as Alberto lets them both by, probably scared from what he was seeing on his mirrors, and now Luciano is very close to him and trying to go for a move on turn 1, and he does.
Very nicely done indeed. Let's see if he can hold on to the position on the exit. Looks like he will. He kept up a good amount of speed. Unfortunately, I also noticed while all that was going on that Alan Santo unfortunately had his engine let go, and that's his race over, about halfway in.
Well, that's a shame. But I will repeat the advice I gave. Never let the engine go over 9,000. Meanwhile, Jason White is fancying his chances over Ray Riddell.
Certainly right underneath his rear wing, so if Ray does any kind of mistake here, then... Ooh, as he has a massive moment coming through the kink. Jason trying to go around outside through 3 and 4, and he's able to pull it off. Fantastic move.
Indeed, fantastic move. He went for the correct side, let's say that, and he did it. And now he's on 6th position, and Ray is demoted to 7th.
And only 1 second behind Equino, so they could very well work together to try and work their way further up the field.
Yes, because Juha is involved in a sort of a strange battle, it seems, with Brian Janik. And they might be costing time to each other, actually, at this point. And Luciano is now behind them both, and he went very wide on turn 1 because he was actually catching them, but he had nowhere to go, either lift or go into the wall.
It's one of those things, I suppose, when you have when you're sort of a lap down, you feel you're quicker, but obviously getting the lap back is a very difficult proposition, as we can clearly see for Yannick, who we have seen have a top 5 pace in the car, but obviously if he's not quick enough to easily get by, then he'll have to work very hard to try and unlap himself. And obviously, as you mentioned, Rocha is being held up as well, and Ibanez is closing back up to him.
Indeed.
As Yannick now almost had the overlap going into turn 1, but was able to go in there. But Bo's very, very wide in the marbles, and Rocha slips by as well to unlap himself on Juha Bos.
Indeed. Well, Juha doesn't want to make too many of those. Meanwhile, if you're wondering how is the gap at the front, Mikey Graham's stretched this gap all the way to 27 seconds now, so
wow.
He's definitely has more than enough pace to win this one if nothing happens in the meantime.
Very impressive indeed to see that kind of pace coming out of that car. I have to say, it looks like Schlapinski's Gilmore Racing Team car is a little bit more ruly now, so either he has backed off a little bit, or he made some tire pressure changes in the pit stop, and the car is behaving more nice now, if possibly not quick enough.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. That, maybe some roll bar changes that he decided to do. His car is definitely looking more planted, but maybe he decided that second is good enough and he's just taking it easy, which it would be the smart thing to do at this point, because he has a championship to think about, and this is a very good position for him if the race would finish like that.
Very much so, and it's one of those things where you sort of also have to take a moment to sort of, even before the race, sort of say, do I think I'm in the championship position or not, and take it from there, because it's very difficult to change mindset in the middle of the race.
True, and especially when you are relinquishing a possible win. But I think Cesare has already realized that he doesn't have the pure pace to keep up, or much less catch up Grams. So he might have decided that indeed the points are better than a DNF at this stage of the championship, especially because this is not supposed to be a track that is very kind to his car. The Coyote was a car more suited to super speedways, and those will come again. So for a damage limitation race, this is turning out very good for him.
For sure. It's interesting to see that they decided to add an extra wing on top of the front wing on that Toyota to try and help it on this particular kind of track. Because I don't think it had that on the last time out.
No, no, it didn't. This was front wing. This front wing would only appear on slower tracks, not on super speedways, to indeed help the downforce at the front. And in a faster tracks, they would just take it off, where top speed and less drag was more important. In the meantime, Jason White is in 5th now in front of Little Al. So he's climbing up the field slowly, but steadily.
And Luciano Rojo up into 8th. I think that's a place higher than when we last checked in on the Brazilians' progress, so that's very nice to see. And only 5 odd seconds behind Ray Riddle, so still in with a shot of a top 7.
That's a very good performance from him. He will be happy with that, sure.
I think Jason Whited as well will be happy in the Machinist Union car, running 10th at the moment in a one-off appearance in that team and machine.
Indeed, that's maybe one of the least competitive cars in the field, so he's doing pretty good for himself. Then more down the order, we still have in 11th Bruno Chacon, in 12th Jules Bouchard, 13th is David Saver, 14th Adam Hackman, 15th Jason Fitch, 16th Brian Janik, and Angel May 17. She's coming out of the pits now.
Yep, presumably for her final after her final pit stop, and I noticed Mikey Grems is in the pits as well. Now at first he loses the lead as he is just after that exits the pit lane.
Yeah, so you can see how big his advantage was. Almost a full lap basically. So he made his stop. He will go to the end now.
Certainly so, rejoins in 2nd, well ahead of Juha Bos, who's exiting the final turn. So the question is, how quick will Cesari's stop be, and will he be able to rejoin ahead of Mikey? But that looks very unlikely, since it's only 12 seconds between them.
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe he has any chance of coming out in front of Mike. What he does have a chance is of stretching this as much as he can and maybe have a shorter stop to make sure that he's well clear of Lucina, who was third before he stopped.
Indeed so, and possibly giving him a chance at the last few laps dash all-out war to try and catch up to Grems. Well, I assume would also be the possibility as Ray Riddle heads into the pit lane.
Oh.
See now exits, he'll rejoin in 9th or 10th, probably 9th. We'll see when Schlapinski and Bos and a few of the others decides to pit. Still no pit call by Schlapinski at least, so he's going for at least one more lap. I see now laps Bos, so that shows how quick the leading 2 is compared to the rest of the field. Because surely Slapinski didn't pit before Grams, right?
Not before, no. He still has one pit stop to make.
Okay, as here comes Bors into the pit lane. Steaming hot. As Bouchard and Luciano Rocha again in their pit stalls. Ooh, and that'll be a tricky exit for Rocha. As Bors went into his pit stall right in front of him. Let's see how Rocha gets past that. Oh, he's fortunate. Bors exits just before Rocha. So both of them more or less unhindered. Rocha with a bit of a loose moment coming off, but able to get going.
We have Jason White in third and Little Al in fourth. Both didn't stop yet.
No, indeed, this will be very interesting to see how this shakes out. And Slapinski continues around one more lap.
Indeed, he's been losing very slowly time to Grams. But of course, he still has to stop. And this will be the crucial point.
Indeed so, and here he comes into the pit lane. Let's see, in the background there comes Mikey Grams.
I think you're looking to Bruno Chacon maybe?
Ah, it is. My apologies. I saw the Gilmore colours into the pit lane. So, sorry about that. I got a bit excited before it was actually time to be excited.
Well, you'll have your chance very soon, because I don't think Cesaris can go much longer. I would guess that if maximum lap 110 must be when he's due to stop. If he stretches it all the way, which I don't know if he will, it all depends on tires and fuel. But of course, it's his best interest to stretch it all the way, because if there's, for example, the possibility of a yellow, he wants to make sure that he is in the lead lap when that happens.
Indeed so. I noticed that the lower ends of the top 10 is starting to shake out, and Whitehead exits the pit lane, and looks like he's just going to be able to hold on ahead of Bruno Chacon. And Rocha currently 9th, and I believe Ray is still to pit, as is Ibanez. And Ibanez now heading towards pit lane.
That gives us the clue about probably more stops imminent now.
Indeed so. Ever closer is Mike Grams against Slapinski.
And still not stopping Cesarius. Jason also continues on, as does Little Al. So if they make their fuel calculations right, at least I predict very short stops for these men.
Certainly so, so it's Lasina's third place that could be in danger. As of course would be Slapinski's current lead, now lap 110.
And Little Al is going to the pits now.
So let's see where he comes out and how long he's stationary.
Ooh, and there's someone is in the wall. I think it's Rocha. Yes, it
no.
is. He
Oh
tagged the wall at
no.
least, but he continues. Let's see if he has damage.
We was running around outside of, I think that was one of the Penske's, and strikes the wall with a left front, so if any damage is on the left front, I think. He had a slow spin
Meanwhile, Jason
connected
is
with
in
the
the
wall.
pits. Cesarius keeps going for now. Already lap 111, so he can definitely stretch the fuel on that Coyote.
And the Quino came out in 6th place. Jason White exiting now, currently 4th. And Boas exiting the final turn, so I think White will be able to hold on to 4th here, which will be a good finish for him. And Slapinski still goes around, 112 laps.
Indeed, his advantage over Graham's steadily diminishing, but he's not stopping yet. Let's see if he stops this time around. And not yet. Another lap for Cesarius.
It's very interesting to see that he's able to stretch it that far.
Indeed it is, especially considering that he's even changing gears for the first corner.
Wait, did you say he pitted on that yellow, right?
He did pit on the yellow, yes, and maybe we are overlooking that fact, because he for sure has more fuel to spare. Now, he pitted on lap, I believe, 68.
That's still too far to make it on one tank to the end.
It is. He would have prayed for an extra yellow. That would have helped him out, but I don't think one is forthcoming.
Well, even if he gets a yellow now, I don't think it'll help him that much.
No, and his advantage is now slimming down to less than 2 seconds. Grams is very close to him.
Let's jump on board with the Tibon Gelhausen Eagle, running in behind David Saber, car ahead of Slapinski. As Grams disposes of Saber's McLaren and closes in ever so steadily on Slapinski as Daniel May gets out of the way. When there goes Slapinski into the pits.
So yes, he had to stop. So that puts Grams comfortably in the lead.
So let's see, this should be a blistering quick pit stop.
Well, it should have been, but I think maybe he's changing all 4 tires?
No, it was 2 sides, so he was stationary for the time it took to change the outside right-hand tires. So still 36, 38 odd seconds behind Grams. I think that is too far behind to make up in what is about 20... a little bit less than 20 laps.
Well, this should be equivalent on fuel, but then again he has a 28-second advantage over Montenassino, who's third. So if nothing happens, his second place is fairly secured.
Indeed so. It looks like most positions in the top 10, at the moment at least, is more or less set. Actually, Roja and Ibanez is having a bit of a ding-dong battle right here. By the looks of things, I think Ibanez will come out just ahead or just behind Roja after the pit stops, and their battle continues.
And so it seems. No rest for those two.
And I'm fairly sure at least Luciano will be will have been enjoying himself all the way through this race, with being able to run close to other cars the whole race. With that Finley Eagle, that's usually something you may not get to do on the super speedways, but right here he's able to do so, and he's doing it very, very well indeed. And obviously
That's true.
Ibanez, I would suspect, is just happy to be able to finish after that 360 spin and being able to continue without any damage done. Oh, as here comes Luciano up the inside on the exit of 4. But clearly that the dragginess of his car is definitely working against him. Even though the straight is short, but look at that run through 1. And now through the kink. That's a very tight entry to the kink. Ooh, very, very loose. Ooh, able to hold on to it. That looked very scary. But even with that, he's about the same distance behind Ibanez. Coming through 3 and 4.
Indeed, and Luciano doesn't give up.
No, indeed, and that is one of the great attributes to have when going oval racing, being able to put your head down and just work and work and work. And have the mental fortitude to think that anything can fall your way. As look at that, around outside towards the exit. What a great run through 1 he had there. Tight run again through the kink, and he's able to back off, or has to back off, and Ibanez holds on to the position for now.
For now being the key word is here.
Rocha able to run down into 1 very, very quick. The car will still work for him. As we are on board with Ibanez looking back, and the menacing Finley Eagle is working him very hard indeed. As now in the slipstream, let's see if he's able to go up the inside. He's not. He backs off, looks for a good run out of turn 1 instead. Looks like Ibanez was able to hold it tight down the inside and cut that exit off. But a little bit wide on the exit there for Ibanez, so Rocha with a better exit, but probably a bit too far behind to make a move here. Oh no, he's blown! No, dearie me! Rocha's engine just gave up! I can't believe it!
I do wonder if he passed 9,000 revs when he was following on the slipstream of Alberto.
Oh,
but
that
anyways,
is heartbreaking. 12 laps to go and the engine goes. That is unbelievable.
Well, we saw the Jeopard. He went all the way to near the lake, basically.
That is so incredibly unfortunate.
So basically this promotes Jason Whited to 9th. And Bruno Acerclinth to top the top 10.
I suppose one way to look at it is that as one Brazilian hits his demise in this event, another picks up of the spills of that.
Well, someone who's breathing relief now is Alberto, of course.
Oh, for
His
sure.
8th place is, at least for now, secured. Meanwhile, in a twist of events, Cesaris is being shown the blue flag because Mikey Grams is about to put him a lap down. And if this happens, Mikey Grams might win this race with one lap over the whole field at least.
That is some immense pace, to say the least. And I also noticed, my eyes didn't deceive me, only 4.5 seconds between Equino and Bors in the battle for a top 5 finish.
Yes, and there he goes. Mike Grams puts Cesaris Lipinski a lap down, so now he has a lap over the whole field.
That is absolutely unbelievable pace.
Yes, and the amazing thing is also how steady and smooth his car looks around the track. Clearly the work of someone who put a lot of effort into his setup and into the practice for this race. You know, it's. I think some people might underestimate the challenge that is to set up a car to be quick and consistent around the track like this, but it's no less difficult or hard working than a Formula 1 race, for example.
No, indeed, and there's also the aspect of being able to keep concentrated for the whole time, but because it almost becomes a little bit mesmerizing going around these turns lap after lap after lap. And considering the pace they're going at, any tiny mistake can have huge consequences.
Indeed, and let's not forget the aspect of traffic also, which was very unlucky, for example, for David Jakes today and a few others, which Grams also navigated. Oh, and there's a spinner, there's someone spun on the last corner. It was Jason Fitch, I believe.
It is indeed. He's able to get down to the apron, nicely done. And just very gingerly tries to get going. Very nice recovery there. But clearly he struck the wall because his rear wing looks a little bit crooked. And he's lost his front wing, so unfortunately late race repairs for Fitch and the AMC crew.
Meanwhile, Juha is only 2 seconds, or 3 seconds I should say, over Little Al, but we are almost at the end of this race. In fact, Grams, I believe, is now on the final lap of this race.
He is indeed. Wow, this has absolutely flown by. So let's give Mikey his due. He's been driving absolutely brilliantly tonight, and from the get-go, more or less, pulled out the lead and been able to extend it all the way since. Exits the final turn and down the front straight he goes, and he will take the win here tonight with an absolutely scorching drive. Congratulations, Mikey, that is an absolutely brilliant drive. Second is Cesariusz Szlapinski. Third looks like it'll be Martin Lasina. That's, I believe, his first really good finish this season, so I think he'll be quite happy with that, as he now crosses the line to finish third. Fourth looks to be Jason White, so his strategy of going long looks to have paid off, as he's going through turn 4 now, and possibly has even finished. Looks like I think he has to cross the finish line, but I could be wrong. Oh dearie me, Juha Bors finishes 5th, Alberto Quino 6th, Ray Vidal 7th, Alberto Ibanez gets 8th with Jason Whited, a very good 9th for Machinist Union. Bruno Chacon gets a top 10 for Gilmore Racing Team, with Adam Hackman a recovery drive to 11th. David Saber finishes 12th with Brian Yannick in 13th, Jules Bouchard 14th, Jason Fitch in 15th, with unfortunately late race retiree in Luciano Roja gets 16th. Anian May finishes 17th, with the rest of our retirees being Alan Santo in 18th, David Yates 19th, Sim Watman 20th, Mike Olson 21st, Bruno Padiola 22nd, August Watering 23rd, Raul Jireb 24th, and our first retiree of the race was Peter Lavac in 25th. But Mikey Grems takes the win here, and hang tight, because after these important messages we will be back with hopefully some post-race interviews and a trivia question on what is coming up next here at ISO.
It's tough to... It's tough to be a car in Alaska, so I'm up here to ask you to think
User
about
joined your
Motorcraft
channel.
Autopros and Ford. Motorcraft off
User was moved to your channel.
tough in Alaska in 50 cars and trucks from Ford, GM,
Sound
and Chrysler.
muted.
After 6 months of rugged Alaska, ice in winter, dust in summer, only one Motorcraft R filter couldn't take it. Now that I've done my stuff, remember, Motorcraft parts are tested tough.
When it's party time and you need a good wine, Jacobazzi's spoken here.
Jacobazzi's the wine that will always bring the delightful flavor of Italy to your party.
Jaco is the wine that goes with everything.
Jacobazzi's tasty balance brings people together. Enjoy it in red, white, and rosé. So for good taste in any language.
Jacobazzi's spoken here, spoken here.
Hi.
Oh, hiya. Hi. Yeah, I was hoping to get a new 78 Toyota Celica, but it looks like I'm too late, right? I mean, you're probably all sold out. I should have known better. I mean, Celica being the import car of the year. Sleek, beautiful. I was just asking.
You asked for it, you got it, Toyota.
Just ask your Toyota dealer. He's got lots of 78 Toyotas still at 78 prices, so you'll really get your money's worth and more.
Just ask for it, you'll get it, Toyota.
The problem? United States Steel wanted any service rep in any district sales office to be able to check the status of a customer's order on the spot and in detail. This was a classic communications problem, so they called in the Bell System experts.
Their solution, a network of 400 high-speed Bell terminals in 29 locations. This gives service reps instant access to the facts they need. Another case that shows the system is the solution.
And we are back here at the Kidney Bean at Trenton International Speedway, and with us in the booth we have 4th place finisher Jason White, and we have our winner Mikey Grems. Congratulations to both of you. You must be very happy. Maybe we'll start with Mikey. That looked like a absolutely brilliant race for you.
Sound resumed.
Oops, there we go. Pardon, I had TS muted. So, looked like you had an absolutely brilliant race there, Mikey.
Yeah, it was a good one. Wow. Superior setup. Dave Jakes, he's my guy.
Yeah, it certainly looked like your car was very well settled indeed, and you clearly put it to very good use. How did you find the race from your point of position, pretty much always at the front of the field?
Nervous. I was nervous the whole time, thinking I had the inferior strategy on fuel, but it went well. It went well. Car was hooked up. Didn't put a foot wrong.
Yeah, so certainly looked like you never really had any major issues that we could see. And were you, considering how far ahead you were when you pitted for the final stop, were you ever worried that Schlapinski would be able to put on some late race shenanigans, or were you more or less secure in scoring your win, no?
Yeah, I was worried about him saving enough fuel. I didn't know. I figured he pitted at the stop there. Didn't really do enough calculations in my head to figure it out if that was enough for him to go the whole race. But seeing him pull off on a pit road, I knew it was done. That was awesome.
I think I can imagine that.
By the way, if I can ask something, did you
Of
have any
course.
trouble? Do you have any trouble with tires, Mikey, or did you keep the temperatures under check? Was that ever a concern for you?
Nope, tires were good. I was worried after a couple slides in the first stint I was going to lose them, but yeah, they were great. No, tires were great.
All right, I guess, brilliant work in the setup and the strategy. Congratulations.
Yep, thanks, boys. Thanks, ISO. That was awesome.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations once again on the win. Jason White is also in here, and I'd suspect you're quite happy with the 4th place finish here.
Very happy. First of all, congratulations to Mikey on an excellent drive today and your first ISO win, I believe. Great job. I figured it was only going to be a matter of when he was in the winner's circle because he's had great racecraft in previous races. And yeah, I'm really glad that David was able to help him with the setup. That's indicative of the kind of spirit we have in this league. You know, it's not people don't walk around with knives in their backs. It's a league where everybody wants everybody else to do well and are more often than not willing to lend a helping hand. Yeah, this is a fantastic result considering how difficult. This is easily the most difficult. That's a weird way to put it. This was the most difficult race we've had so far. I think I can't speak for everybody, but it certainly was. I mean, the Gould Charge, was a good handling car, even on this track. But I had to watch my tire temperatures, like Wilks was saying, very, very carefully. There were a couple of moments where I kind of scared myself, but thankfully those were fewer than I expected. I am very happy to say that I brought the car home with not a scratch. I didn't have any contact with anyone or the wall the entire time, and I figured I would at least touch the wall once or twice in this race, but I can't believe I brought the car home pristine. Back markers were, for the most part, great. Gave plenty of room where they needed to. I actually had a decent pit strategy at the end. I was able to not take tires in the end. I just took a splash of fuel, and that was what allowed me to stay in front of Juha at the end. If I had taken on maybe a little less fuel, maybe I could have challenged Martin, but I think Martin had more pace than I did at the end anyway. So I'm happy with 4th for sure.
It certainly looked like you had a relatively uneventful race in a way, but looked like you had a few early race battles. Did that work for or against you? Did you feel that you had to work early on in the race to try and...
No, it actually got me comfortable being around other cars, because that's always the danger of just practicing on the server by yourself. You're not around other cars and you're not used to it. But early on, I had a battle with, I think it was Alberto. I was with him for quite a while and finally managed to get around it, but I was able to run very close to him, and that built my confidence. And then later on, after the pit stop, I dropped to 7th as I was trying to get my bearings again, and then I just ran down Ray and Little Al towards the end, and I was quite surprised to end up lapping Ray later. I don't know if he was having an issue or something, but the fact that there was only one yellow and the fact that there were plenty of cars to deal with, actually, I mean, it got me comfortable driving around other people. So I'd say that's part of the reason why because if you're by yourself, your mind can wander a lot easier because you have less to do, But my compliments to our Leo Mel, Richard Wilkes. You gave us a tire that definitely provided an interesting challenge, and I think the people who finished towards the top here, it's a satisfying result because it took real stamina and attention to be successful here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I guess we can also talk with our 2nd place finishers.
User was moved to your channel.
There he is.
And here he is, our second place finisher. Congratulations, Asarius, on second place. Looked like you didn't quite have the pace to take the win, but you had a good race nonetheless.
Oh yes, thank you. Definitely there was no pace for taking the win as I finished a lap behind Mikey, and big congratulations to him for his first ISO win. But actually I couldn't find the proper setup and the pace, and I switched back to something from Phoenix, I guess, and it did work somehow, but it was very, very deadly for the tires. So everything I did, I was just, praying to keep the tires in good shape and bring the car in one piece, because I think at last two races I didn't finish, and finally I seen the Chikorata in the top places. Good feeling.
Yeah, I think I can understand that. Looked like in the first stint that, as you say, the car was quite loose, quite a handful. Did you, as we suspected, do any tire pressures and maybe roll bar changes to try and calm the car down a little bit as the race progressed?
No, I didn't touch anything like that. I just did couple of laps before today in this different setup, and it was a lot more stable than the one I was working for the entire week, So
Oh,
I
okay.
just I just wanted, to finish the race after what happened last time and then two races before, and I'm happy with the result more than even winning this one.
Well, that's very understandable indeed. Looking ahead, we have the Michigan International Raceway, the Super Speedway, should suit your Toyota a little bit better. Are you looking forward to continuing this form and get another good finish, or how do you expect that race to go for you?
Well, it's a fast track, and the car is more or less, good on the fastest track. So I hopefully will do a good result there. And the biggest surprise I'm expecting to see is when we go for the road courses to Mosport and I think to Brands Hatch. That's gonna be challenging.
Certainly will be, and that'll be 2 rounds away when we go to Mosport. Jason, Michigan next time out. Any expectations or?
Oh, big expectations always when it's my home circuit in the glorious Irish hills of Michigan. Yeah, big expectations. I mean, I think both for myself and Adam, because we showed that we have a really good race package, not only quality package, but race package for 2-mile D-shaped ovals like this. We did really good at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And this track is extremely similar. We can probably get by with relatively the same setup we had for Texas. It's going to be a little slower because the banking's a bit less, but also it should be a little easier to drive, ironically, because the cars don't. The less the less banking, there's less banking change, less chance to throw the car out of control. So I think it might be a little less stressful than Texas was too. So, but yeah, I'm really excited. I think it'll be a fun event, and I hope I can do well in my home track for sure.
Well, thank you very much for those insights, and best luck to both of you for the Michigan event next time out. And again, congratulations on second and fourth in this race, and also big congratulations to Mikey on taking a absolutely brilliant win.
Thank you once again for the coverage. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the color commentary, Mr. Wilkes, and hope it was a fun event.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, yes, it was. It was, again, in races like these, there's always something to talk about. There's always some fight down the field. So it always is.
Certainly so, and I will echo those remarks about thank you very much, Richard, for joining me for this one. Always highly appreciative, and always a good fun to have you with me in the booth.
Likewise, Jonatan. Thank you for having me.
So before we cap off the broadcast, let's have a quick look at the trivia question and what's coming up at ISO. So the trivia question for you tonight were: who won the Trenton 200 by 3 full laps? on April 25th, 1971? Was it A. Mike Mosley, B. Wally Dallenbach, or C. Bobby Unser? Any ideas from Cesarius or Richard? Obviously Jason came up with this question, so he gets no answer to be given.
Well, I could venture to guess Bobby Unser, just because he won so many races, so why not this one also?
Fair enough. Any ideas, Cesarius, on who it could have been?
I would go for Bobby Unser too, because he's the most, I would say, known driver for me from this pack, so I pick up C.
And the correct answer is A. Mike Mosley.
Wrong.
Indeed.
Oh, very well done for Mike.
That, I have to say I got it wrong. I thought it was Dallenbach when I first had a look at the question. So
well, Dallenbach was from New Jersey, so it would have been a fun answer to the question. But no, the correct answer definitely was Mike Mosley.
Fair enough. So what we have coming up for you all to enjoy over the next few weekends. On April the 11th, 2 weeks from now, we have the Norton Twin 200 from the Michigan International Raceway. Round 5 of this 1978 USAC Championship, which most likely will have closed up just a little bit after today's events. Green flag for that race will be given at around 2000 CEST, so Central European summertime, so we are moving our clocks forward.
Still Paris time.
Hour. Still Paris time, but summertime in Paris, so to speak.
Yes.
And following that, we have Grand Prix Labatt du Canada, the 6th round of the 1986 Formula 1 Championship, which has seen what is it now? 5 winners in 5 races, I think?
No, 4. Because Wilkes won 2.
Oh, indeed. So 4 winners in 5 races. So a lot to still fight for. I think the championship standings is, I think the lead is like 6 or 7 points, give or take. So definitely a close championship so far. And if other races previous is anything to go by, both brakes and fuel will be a problem at the Canadian Grand Prix.
Mais oui.
And following that, we have the Molson Diamond Indy from the Mossport race track in Canada. The 6th round of the 1978 USAC Championship. First time this season that the USAC cars will take to a road course, and I for one can't wait to see what will happen there, because that is a real roller coaster kind of a track. And
I'm thinking we'll be testing the Armco in that one.
Very much a possibility, considering there aren't many runoff areas on that track either, so if you go off, you are definitely going off. But yeah, I think that more or less finishes up the broadcast. So any final thoughts from any of you about this round before we round off?
Only that. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that we had a new winner, other people, other faces being competitive, some even on the midfield that were very competitive for a change. So I hope this trend continues.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good series so far, and a lot of that has to do with the work behind the scenes. Thank you again to Mr. Wilkes for that. I know he's got a lot of. I know he does a lot of work to make sure that there's parity in the series, and we have an addition to the mod coming up that gets us ready for, I believe, for Indianapolis. But there's also some built-in changes in there that will make the racing even better. So thanks for that.
So there's even more interesting bits to look forward to in the future. But a great race here tonight, a lot of action, and a first-time winner in Mikey Grems. Certainly one of the highlights of the season and the year here at ISO so far with this track and race. I always enjoy going to the Kidney Bean for a bit of argy-bargy, as it were. But yeah, thank you very much to Jason and Cesarius for joining us in the booth, and Mikey, of course, for the post-race interviews. Thank you to Richard Wilks for joining him in the booth as color commentator for this race. And obviously, thank you to our modding team, David Saber, Alberto Ibanez, Jason White, and Richard Wilks especially, who's put in a lot of work for this USAC Modern Championship. And to all our drivers who put on a great show here tonight. So, other than that, thank you very much for tuning in as well, and hope you all have a great couple of weeks, and we will be back live in 2 weeks' time on April the 11th for round 5 at the Norton Twin 200. But until then, take care, have a great time, and good night.
Sound muted. Microphone muted.